This is the progress report for the week of February 27th, 2019. I'm Brooke Kirian. The term political correctness, commonly called PC, is used to describe language, policies, or measures that are intended to avoid offense or disadvantage to members of particular groups in society. Political correctness was the subject of the most recent Chautauqua lecture here at EKU. Dr. Eric Weber talked with progress reporter Lauren Berger on correcting political correctness.
That's the name of the talk, that's right. So there's a lot of people who are frustrated by norms that we refer to as political correctness. And it is at the same time the case that a lot of Americans, 82% of Americans according to a survey, are really deeply concerned about things like hate speech in America. But also 80% of Americans, a slightly smaller number but not that much smaller, says that political correctness is an issue, by which I guess they mean that it's sort of something of a problem. And so a lot of Americans think this idea of political correctness is an issue, and there's varying conceptions of what this thing is, let alone, how it's a problem if and when it is, and so forth. At the same time, in the workplace, I don't want my wife or my daughter to be referred to as toots. Right? I don't want to be horribly offensive to other people unnecessarily. Right? There's certain norms that are just, frankly, common decency. And so some people may be upset when we refer to political correctness, and yet we all seem to assume and demand certain kinds of respect for, basic things. And so basically what I wanted to look at was the ways in which conflicts about political correctness come up. I want to look at the terminology that we're using, which I think is actually flawed. First of all, it seems like it's not always about politics. And secondly, correctness seems like a weird standard. There isn't only just one right answer about some things, right? So sometimes it can sound funny. So I want to suggest other ways of thinking, but I have some suggestions for how we might speak differently about norms that we should be concerned about, which sometimes we refer to as political correctness, but also kind of avoid some of the problems of ways in which we kind of call for political correctness in sort of problematic ways that are kind of, too demanding or not reasonable kind of thing. So it seems to me some cases and calls for political correctness are reasonable and good things, but the label is still frustrating and not very helpful. And some calls, I think, are reasonably criticized as being over the top and unreasonable expectations for other people. It's kind of micromanaging folks' lives. And so how do we differentiate? Well, that's the subject of my talk tonight.
Is this the first time you've given this specific talk?
Good question. I wrote a short essay a number of years ago called Correcting Political Correctness. It was only 2 pages, and I was being asked to write something about sort of works in progress. And I've been working for about 9 years or so on a book that I'm writing called A Culture of Justice. And when I thought about political correctness in the context of what kind of is important in terms of culture for the sake of justice, political correctness was one of those funny items and kind of subject matters where it seems really subtle. Is it really about justice? It's kind of like flags and symbols and mascots. Does that really matter? And so that very interesting topic seemed to me to be a really good test for my outlook and theory. So I wrote that short piece. And I've talked about political correctness sort of at moments in a number of different talks. This is my first devoted talk just to that subject matter, and it's to be a chapter of the book called A Culture of Justice that I'm finishing up. So this is my first time focusing exclusively on political correctness, but it has come up a number of times in other talks and in a short paper I wrote, and so I'm really expanding on that now.
The EKU men's basketball team will wrap up its season Saturday, March 2nd with a home game against the Morehead State Eagles. The Colonels enter the game with a 12-17 record and a 5-11 mark in the Ohio Valley Conference. While it has been a disappointing season for the team, it has been a standout season for senior forward Nick Mayo. Mayo tells me he's looking forward to taking his game to the next level.
So Nick, what's it like knowing that you are a potential draft pick for this year's NBA draft?
It's pretty cool. I put in a lot of work, and we have a couple more games left in the season, and we got to win these games. But I put in a lot of work, and I got a lot more work to do because it's not going to be easy. But I'm looking forward to the grind.
Helping students prepare for the future is part of the college mission. Progress reporter Cassie Knutson attended a recent workshop helping students learn how to write a resume.
Tuesday night in Whitlock, EKU Student Life partnered with the Career and Co-op Center to provide a free resume service. The event provided free food and drinks for whoever attended. Hear from EKU senior Taylor Moore on why she attended this event.
I came out to the resume workshop because I graduate in May, so I'm looking to apply for jobs soon, and I've really never had to do a resume, so I wanted to see what they had to say about it.
The main idea of the service was to inform students on what is and is not important to include on resumes. They provided examples of what employers look for, such as problem-solving skills, ability to work in a team, and communication skills. They also handed out free promotional items such as sunglasses and pop sockets. Hear from the EKU Student Life Coordinator who put this service together on what he thinks is important on this.
Community service is a really important part of a resume. About upwards of 80% of employers and grad schools and internship opportunities are looking for service built into people's resumes. So this is an important event to talk about the different community service opportunities offered through our office, as well as the services offered through Career and Co-op, and really helping people that are looking for job opportunities and those such things to have the best resume possible.
With the Eastern Progress, I'm Cassie Knutson.
For more details on these stories and additional stories, grab a copy of the Eastern Progress or head over to www.easternprogress.com. For the Progress Report, I'm Brooke Kirian.